GM, hello, welcome. I hope everybody's feeling good. This is Momentum episode 2. We have a very special episode today for, I think, 2 or 3 reasons. One, we're going to get live information from my 2 co-hosts, Robert and Mihai, from the MultiversX headquarters in Sibiu. Also, I'm in Istanbul, so I might have to run out at any moment. There's a bunch of earthquakes, so if I disappear, this show is live because anything can happen. Preparation today was so. We have to admit that to you very openly right at the beginning because Mihai and Robert have been stuck in a bunch of important meetings. Maybe they'll tell us a little bit about it. But first of all, let me welcome my co-hosts, Mihai and Robert. How are you guys doing?
Hi everyone, super stoked about today. We had a bunch of good meetings here in Sibiu in between the leads, and then we can share a little bit about, and a little bit tired, and we still have a few more discussions to go through after the podcast. So a long day, but productive one.
Yep. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and all the other salutations. Indeed, we started early in the morning, and we did not have breaks. Not even a 5 minutes break. That was crazy. I think we had a 15 minutes break just to have some snacks and some drinks, but then we were full focused, just because, as probably you have seen, the markets are changing. The momentum, just because is the name of the podcast, probably it's a keyword for that we should use furthermore. The momentum is changing, and it's important to be at the right place at the right moment.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. We have a bunch of things prepared, including I think 3 wonderful guests, including Claudiu, who I think might just be joining you at the studio right there where you guys are right now,
Yep.
and then also Adrien from Shelters and Mihai from XOXNO. So packed show. Also a big reminder here. We do this, and we've done this successfully last time, and we're doing it again. We're doing a live quest. So X Alliance is offering $150 in EGLD. If you just produce some content about the show, you can live tweet it, you can clip it, you can summarize the big takeaways from the threads through threads on or blog posts, whatever you think is best. But just as the markets are roaring, might be a good opportunity to fatten your bags by just participating and producing some content.
That's a cool 10 ego. So
Yeah, exactly. There you go. And well, let's start. We always kind of have 3 parts here. The first one kind of like bigger Web3 tech developments. The second part, sort of very specific MultiversX ecosystem. And then more community focused achievements in the last part. And maybe I think today we'll have a little bit of a preview right at the end, so stick around till then. But I'll pass it over to Robert to talk a little bit about what's been happening out there in the world and your takes on it.
I didn't spend too much time on Twitter this week or last 2 weeks. I was pretty much stoked on coding, vibe coding a lot, trying out different things and trying a lot of AIs, how to speed up my job. But there were some interesting topics. I think that right now everybody is searching again for fundamentals. That's what Benjamin said as well, and that's pretty much a topic which is getting up at every discussion. And you can see a lot of back and forth on the Ethereum ecosystem around scaling Ethereum L1 or not. And especially, I think a big trigger, it was on the weekend when Vitalik have announced the Risk 5, that it would be much better than EVM. I even at that time, being after 6 or 7 years on the WASM part and understanding everything and what WASM is, you question a little bit yourself, because that's how engineering works. You open up to new ideas, you see what is, and then you dive a little bit into the RISC-V rabbit hole. And I would say it's a rabbit hole because I just cannot understand what their thinking is. I get it that they abandoned WASM somewhere in 2018 and 2019, and that was a bad decision. At that time, even their eWASM version was not working. We made it work, and we sent it to Prismatic Labs and the others, just to show that how to solve their issues. And from any kind of like objective perspective, there is no reason to choose RISC-V versus WASM. WASM is just, if you want to build a global computer in which everybody from the world is building in their tools, in their ecosystem, with their own knowledge, WASM is the best. Like, I think you have heard on DB Crypto, Andre reasoning a little bit about it. But as the topic came up, we had a lot of internal discussions as well, whether we are thinking well about how we created our ecosystem or not. But still, WASM is just killer. It's, from security perspective, it's created to be secure by design, meaning stateless execution directly in its own sandbox, where you can add guest tracing deeply integrated inside the execution part, the execution engine, and it doesn't make it slower. Also, it is one of those execution environments which is kept up by everything which is web, from Apple to Microsoft to Google to Android. You can run it everywhere, and you can design any kind of code and then just deploy it and run it. And even if your code is closed source, the resulting WASM is somewhat understandable even for human language, but for AI can just make magic. You can just give a WASM file to an AI or a bunch of WASM files and ask things about those, and he prompt a little bit and he will get back all the results. So it is clear for me, WASM, and I think it is clear for everybody who is engineering, real engineering, that WASM just wins all the VM wars. And a little bit from my perspective, it's like RISC-V is this kind of super geeky thing which you like as a PhD coder somewhere in your own garage, and 30 of your friends know about it, and you are geeking about it, but it's not faster, it's not safer. You have to engineer a lot around it. And another thing around the VM, with all this discussion and making Ethereum even, let's say, smaller and smaller, the risk you are getting is that you are outsourcing security to the wallets and to the whole infrastructure. Meaning that even right now in EVM, all the transactions are blindsided, and you are just one approve away from losing all your funds. There was a big talk between Ethereum and Balaji, and there Balaji have said that Vitalik said that TradFi and DeFi risk are reasonably close. And then Balaji said, yeah, but you need just only one transaction and you lose 100% of your funds. So it just killed that kind of direction. So when you are making the VM smaller and eliminating a lot of primitives like safe token transfers, executions, multi-transfers with execution atomically, and you eliminate all those, what you do actually is that you put the security part to a top layer like a wallet, which understandably cannot really understand what's happening in the background. So even after almost 10 years we have still blind signing for Ethereum on EVM, we will have the same thing on RISC-V for another 10 years. So I think that's my take on the VM wars. There were some pretty other things about Ethereum L1 scaling or not, L2s not being good enough. I think they shouldn't even name those L2s, but you cannot actually scale an L1 just by increasing the gas limit. It just hits the ceiling super fast, and you haven't solved a lot of the underlying issues around safety, security, around writing bigger and more complex contracts. And whether you do it or not at the current moment, man, all the blocks are empty. Bitcoin blocks are empty. Ethereum blocks are empty. Let's say MultiversX blocks are empty, but we have bigger capacities, so we might say that we are somewhat okay. I think Solana blocks are not empty, but they have like 70% in consensus messaging. So that's a little bit interesting take. It would be, this is the best time, for example, for anybody to launch directly on layer ones and to try out new things when the blocks you have the abundance of block space, and if you really care about how do you design things, then it's a must. So that's my take. I think that Mihai wanted to add something on that empty blocks.
I just wanted to say that those are really hard numbers. I mean, you mentioned a few examples, but we can continue the list. Like Polkadot has the same issue. I think they just averaged around 11,000 daily active addresses in I don't know, last quarter of the last year. Even though they can relay much more. Like that's also our case. Filecoin storage network is I think at around 30% full. Again, that's a lot of idle hardware that just stays. Is waiting for usage. And then Avalanche, I think they slashed the fees by 96% in December.
Yeah.
So you see, why does it matter? It matters because everyone is looking for utility. I mean, oversupply of block space actually wrecks token economics and developers' morale. I mean, there was the saying, you know, if you build it, they will come. And we see that it works for some, but it does not work for everyone. That's why I believe that we should not have the use cases just because the infra can support, but the use cases should lead the infra, not the other way around. And I hope that the block space now in 2025 is not the same situation that we had in 2008 with the unsold houses. And I think that's also something that we are very focusing on in the last month, and we will also continue doing that, finding solutions for the, let's say, it's a kind of a crisis that what we are having right now, even though the markets are thanks to the delay of the tariffs are becoming greener and greener. We don't know how long it will take, but it's the moment when the utility has to come first and then build on top of that. Because
I think around the threat on the tariffs, that was like a big manipulation in any kind, in all kinds of talks, because, you know, there were just announcements and trillions of dollars were moved in milliseconds.
Exactly.
Or a few minutes, and it was like pre-programmed bots to do this and to organize around that. So I don't think it was so, let's say, organic or natural, these kind of things. It was like pretty much arranged the same way, I think, in January or February, when the crypto market had those kind of 3 weekends, strange weekends, one after another, where every bot was doing the actual same thing. So that's not organic.
Can I ask you guys, just as like apart from the markets and all of this, like from an engineer's standpoint, not BD necessarily, but the empty block crisis, like is it just more users, more use cases coming in, or is there like, let's say, engineering solutions to start filling the blocks with meaningful transactions, or is it really just about adoption, bringing more users and more people, more projects in?
I think that the current applications do not really satisfy the users as they are right now, because let's be honest, you are not going to swap thousands of transactions every day as a user. You might swap a few per day. You enjoy a little bit. You might play a game for a few minutes, but if it doesn't has transactions on the chain, but one per, it doesn't bring up. I think that people should think a little bit differently around the block space, because actually the data inside the blockchain is much more valuable than any kind of centralized databases like Google, Facebook, and others. And if Google and Facebook created $1 trillion economies from their data, because that's what they did, yeah, we know that actually Meta was selling out all his data even to the Chinese government. So I'm not saying that blockchain developers should do that, but the thing is that you could encrypt and have time-stamped final data on the chain, which then, according to some processes, you could, let's say, resell or to be reused on other applications. I would say that a lot of things, a lot of accounting, a lot of tracking could, let's say, put directly onto the chain, and this would make so much more valuable for those companies. This is just another example.
Yeah, but anyway, for that we need a great UX, and great UX for us should come with Supernova. But the road to Supernova is quite long, and I think
What a great transition there, Mihai. Amazing. Let's talk about Andromeda.
he knew he learned a little bit about from
Yeah,
you
this
about
is
these transitions.
third episode, and we're becoming pros here.
Nah, yeah, it's common.
yeah. So probably, I mean, the voting has closed. The governance vote has closed for Andromeda. If you did not vote, you will not receive the soulbound NFT. But no worries, there are going to be other chances, like Bernard is coming and also Supernova afterwards. But let's stay with Andromeda. We had a participations of 30%, I believe, which is nice. That's why we did not ask for a minimum quorum yet, just because we've seen that the participation varies quite a lot. So we had 28% at the first call for governance vote. Then we had around 33% just because it was taking phase 4, and now we have 30%. Most probably for the next governance votes, we will see an increase in numbers, just because for sure the interest on the next upgrades will be greater. We will try to promote more. What does it be? Does those new releases bring, and how people will be impacted by that? But staying with Andromeda, we announced to go on DevNet on Monday, next Monday, so 3 days, 4 days from now. Actually, we are going to delay a little bit on that, just because while we were testing on internal testnets and also going on the public testnet, we've seen degradation in the latency. And also, we have to already bring some features that will be used by Supernova, and bringing them now will ease a lot the things for the next upgrades. So it makes sense to, let's say, delay the things a little bit, just for this moment, and then win some momentum later afterwards.
Technically speaking, only like how the proofs are distributed and how the proofs a little bit how they are created and how they are distributed in the system, that has had to be fixed. And this fix helps Supernova to be, let's say, smaller in terms of coding efforts, because we don't need to make another big transition as we are doing from the speaker release to the Barnard to the Andromeda. The thing is that when we have this kind of releases for a few days, you are going on the old code, and then at epoch activation, the code is switched in which the validator is running, but they are certain edge cases when your node is reverting, or your node is still in the old epoch and the meta chain is the new epoch, and all kinds of combinations around that. And that needs a lot of coding and testing. So we managed to eliminate one big switch, and that would help Supernova in the end.
Yeah, so just to return a little on the updated plan on the Andromeda upgrade, we are not going to update the DevNet on Monday just yet, so we will delay it with 3 or 4 days. So I would say that we should expect Andromeda on the mainnet after the 5th of May. That's 1 week and a few days from now. If things will
Next
change,
Momentum episode is guaranteed. We have Andromeda on mainnet.
100%. And just to have a better idea of how big this patch is, actually, it brings 5,000 new lines of code. So those are going to be added. Or, okay, so the difference is around 5,000 lines of code to an already 35,000 lines of code for Andromeda. That's huge.
The Andromeda patch 2 is actually bringing another 5,000 code. So
yeah.
So let's say the developers have brought in less than 2 weeks another big chunk of 5,000 lines of code. So they are working pretty fast.
This is just the last step before transitioning from the off-chain governance that it's still on-chain, but let's say it's a hybrid way of dealing with governance to an on-chain one, which is brought by Bernard. And for Bernard, so today we also had a very intensive planning session. And for Bernard, we are seeing like the end of May, beginning of June as the moment when we are going to announce it for upgrade. Obviously, we will have to run governance in between and then the acceptance and so on, going through the regular process. But Bernard will just turn the proposals on MultiversX from suggestions in the forum into real transactions and smart contract deal engineering on chain.
Yeah, that's definitely. And one more thing, this is for the developers, if they are listening, for especially those who are liquid staking liquid staking and the legacy delegation, let's call them. After Bernard, we will create a new module which you have to integrate into your contracts in order to allow people to vote. So for liquid staking providers, they will need to enable users who have liquid stake tokens to vote. And this has to go through that contract. No more like snapshotting stuff, but direct voting. And it will go as a delegate vote, as we care about every single user and every single liquid stake token.
Now, thinking about another thing that Bernard brings is a lot of effort on updating the contracts for the timestamps, and probably the person who has the biggest amount of work on that is Claudiu. And Claudiu, if you can, is
another brilliant transition.
Always. I don't know whether we will need you anymore.
Exactly. I can just look. I'll just
sorry.
hide my video and let you guys do everything. Claudiu, how are you? Welcome.
Hello guys. Can you hear
me? Not really.
Still need to fix the mic there, but
it's fine.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's good. Awesome. Thank you for having me now. So I'm very glad to be here.
I heard. So we were planning the show. We had some different options for different guests, of course, from the team. But then Mihai said you wanted to drop some alphas. So this is what I'll be looking for. But I know that both Robert and Mihai have some questions for you also, perhaps as it pertains to the upgrades, how you're handling that and everything going on behind the scenes.
Actually, I'm trying to push for a transition now. Claudiu, who are you? Tell us more about yourself.
Come on, you just read the first question from the document.
Very, very nice transition, Mihai.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, who am I? So I've been working with Elrond back then, and now with the MultiversX from I think 4 years now. And when I first started with the Elrond back then, it was basically with Robert that I had the first encounter, and with Benny and Lucian. And we first started with the idea of having a decentralized exchange on the Elrond network. And this was the first thing that I've been working on, and I'm working with the xExchange now from back then. So I started basically with the first implementation for the contracts, and with the supervision from Robert as well. And then I've been transitioning to the product side as well, with the backend, and having actually a product from those smart contracts. And now I'm leading the efforts for the xExchange.
I would have, like, before getting into the alphas, I would have, like, in 2-3 sentences or whatever, a minute, how was our first war room? Can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was painful, maybe. I think the first war room that we had, basically, it's when it was when we launched the Mihai exchange. And I still remember that the first transaction that happened on the Mihai exchange, I think it was on 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. And it is very interesting because a lot of the community was with us when we launched it, and I know that everybody was waiting for the launch, and everybody just waited to have everything ready, and they stayed with us up until we had it. And when the first liquidity came in, and we saw that everything is working, I think it was a very, very good relief from our side to see everything that is working.
But the more interesting part was the first upgrade, no? That was the big war room. It destroyed our Christmas party, actually.
Yeah, indeed. We had some issues back then when we tried to update something, and we saw that we introduced basically an issue in one of our smart contracts, and then we had to figure it out from where this comes from, and we had some with the rewards. I think it was for the farms as well, but I think we managed it very, very well, because we found it, and in 2 or 3 days we were patching it up, and we had everything calculated again, and we had the full fixes done.
Yeah, and the community was really with us. Like, everybody understood that, okay, we need 3-4 days to fix everything and get back everything, and then they were just hyping up the things. I think that at that time we had to postpone a little bit the Holoride launch as well. And that was crazy. Again, a crazy night.
That was the second war room, I think, for the ride launch. But indeed, one thing that it's very valuable maybe to mention is that every time we had something, and we were managing it in some ways or another, the community was with us every time, and I think we should be very, very grateful with the community.
Yeah, definitely. Then let's go technical a little bit. What's up with xExchange? What happened, let's say, in the last 3 months, and what's the near future?
Yeah. So as maybe all of you knows that we just launched, even though it feels that we have the xExchange version of V3 from quite some time. So for me, it feels that we have it for years, but it's basically a few months. And since then, we we iterated it very much on the look and feel and some user experiences that we found during some sessions that we did with some analytics as well. So we were working with some upgrades so that we can have a more better user experience and easier experience for the users as well. This is on the products also. We are now thinking on two different directions with the xExchange. So we have the product. It's that what users are saying with the front end and some tools that we are putting in place for the users to have simplified experience with the protocol itself. What we are calling it the xExchange protocol, all the smart contracts. So maybe some cool things that will be launched very soon, and in this regards as well with the optimizations and how we are trying to gather more feedback from our users. It's basically, I think, starting from tomorrow, we'll have this is maybe the first alpha.
Good alpha, yeah.
We'll have a model, for model that users will be seeing on the xExchange after some specific actions, and I will encourage them to fill in the form so that we can gather some more insights on how we can improve better the xExchange. One thing that is valuable for the form is that it is anonymous, so don't have the ability maybe to track them or not.
Do we save it on the blockchain?
No.
Why not? Come on, let's do that.
Block space.
Like, let's encrypt it and then save it on the blockchain. At least the hash of it, or the full document. Let's be funny.
Maybe after we are done with the feedback, we can put a proof.
You should write the first feedback.
we already have 5 feedback, I think, from DevNet.
Okay, all right. I think we have to move all the Agora as well to the blockchain as well. Why not?
That's a great idea. Yeah.
And the other things that we were working on and we were discussing with our colleagues as well, it's how we can be more open and have more visibility and information for users to understand better what are the things that the xExchange provides, and more in terms of the rewards. So we do have now a new dedicated page for the rewards that are distributed each week in terms of the farms rewards and the staking rewards and what they're getting from the fees collector. And it is a very good insight for the users to understand where those rewards come from, how we are distributing them, and if there are changes as well, they will see them there. The next steps, I will emphasize a bit on the protocol side and what upgrades we were performing, and we had some governance calls that were proposed, and they were passed back in October or November, I think, last year. And for one of them, we already did the actual actions in the smart contract. So we are now distributing 100% of the early unlocks penalty back to the energy holders. So this was the first one. And the second governance call that we will put in action basically in a very short period of time, it's the more the unclaimed distributed rewards. Basically, we were not claimed them, not even after we passed the governance, because we had to do some adjustments for the smart contracts, but now we are ready to have them as well. The other alpha that we are working on.
So
that means money going back to the MEX energy, the locked MEX and XMEX energy holders. In other words, correct?
Yeah. So basically, it's about the strategic fund that we were proposing in October, and it was the governance call for the strategic fund. So the unclaimed reward is basically the first source of funding for that strategic fund.
Okay, and now some big alpha for 2025.
Yeah,
Like in terms of, let's say, one feature you would name for 2025. You don't need to speak any like date or week, just one which makes you excited.
The funny part, and I'll come back to the features as well. The XExchange basically, and the protocol itself, it is developed in open, in an open source paradigm. So I'm very confused that people do not get or not see what we are doing, because we are doing everything in the public basically. So every feature that we are developing, it is visible on the GitHub. So if you do guys want to know exactly on what we are working on, just go to the GitHub. We were thinking of how we can improve some part of the economics, and the one that I'm thinking about is how we are distributing the rewards from the trading fees. So the trading fees, as you know, it's part of them are distributed to the energy holders through the fees collector smart contract. So as we were planning them to happen back when we had it, it's basically we wanted for the energy holders to get some of the trading fees in any token that is traded, so that they can gather some of the tokens that are traded. But seeing how the market performed, and how the market moved, and the number of tokens that the user gets, maybe is not the best way to distribute those rewards. So the thing that we are planning now maybe is to have the fees collector to basically distribute all the fees in one single token. You can guess what token can it be.
Okay, so would this be the moment then that Max becomes a first-class citizen again?
Or
it is the energy?
This part with the which one is the first class citizen, whether it's Max or it's the XMax, I think it's more like how users or people are interacting with the XExchange. So basically the Max can be the first class citizen for part of the users, but for the other part it's the XMax as a first class citizen. So I'm thinking here. So for example, on the liquidity providing side, maybe it's the Max that it's more interested, because it's the token that can bootstrap the liquidity with. But for the energy holders, and for those that believe in how we are building with the XExchange, and they want to be part of the XExchange, maybe the XMax is their way of thinking for the first class citizen.
Okay, I would have one more last question. When the next governance call?
Maybe it will be quite soon. We are exploring a way for the maybe with the upgrade for the fees collector to have a new governance call on how we are planning to do the upgrade, and how we are planning to work with the tokens that are now in the fees collector.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claudiu.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for putting in the late nights at the headquarters. I know he can't hear me anymore. We're grateful nonetheless. Next, we have another first-class citizen of the MultiversX ecosystem, and somebody who's been putting in a ton of work, not just in real life, but even at universities, teaching students, I think, about MVX. Hopefully we'll hear a little bit about that. But we have the co-founder of Shelters with us, Adrien. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm really great. Hi, everyone.
We want to hear a little bit, obviously, always great to hear from builders and hear the builder stories and have you on. But first of all, of course, like, need to give you a little bit of time to explain Shelters, the vision, what you guys are doing, what problems you're solving, and then perhaps also why you chose to solve these problems on the blockchain. Very curious to hear your take on all that.
So the idea behind shelters is pretty straightforward. We wanted to make real estate investment available for everyone and increased a lot the liquidity. In the meantime, removing all the barriers to entry in this market. And so basically, we look around for already existing solution, because back at the time when we had the idea of shelters, we were a student, engineering student at CESI Lyon, so the same school we make some courses today. And yeah, the goal was to create an application where, as an engineer, as myself, as a young student, being able to invest in real estate. So no other solution meet all our criteria. So we had to develop ourselves the solution. That's why we decided to do it.
What was your first like touch point with MVX? Obviously, the French community is very big. I just remembered, like, I don't know if you listened to the previous conversation, but the Meyer launch, I remember that night because I was in Prague somewhere late night and I was like, oh, I have all of these MEX tokens. I don't really know what any of this is, but I'm gonna give it a shot. How long have you been around the community, and then what can you help?
I'm in around or MultiversX since the ERD on Ethereum. So I'm a really OG. Yeah, I did all the night with you guys with the launching, the launch of the MEX. I was there too, trying to buy some. Everything was kind of tricky because everyone wanted to do the same thing in the same time. So yeah, it was really fun night with friends. So yeah, I'm here since a very long time. Basically, why I choose to come to MultiversX or Elrond back then was the sharding. I think, like Benjamin said in Munich and everywhere, I think today we need a blockchain that can scale, but truly scale. And sharding, in my opinion, as an engineer, is a no-brainer, because we have to be able to put more servers, more nodes, to be able to process more transaction in case we need it. And so that's basically what sharding exists for. So that's why I'm here.
I think Robert will like this answer.
Yeah, this is music for my ears.
I also think, like you mentioned Munich, and this is something I think that perhaps I've seen some misconceptions about this in the community. Like, Munich was obviously our event that was specifically targeting RWAs, like a huge vertical, something that's extremely interesting, and something where I think you're really doing something that isn't possible without blockchain, fractionalizing real estate. Where do you kind of like see this let's say vertical going, and perhaps also, again, why is sharding, or what are the sort of underlying technical abilities that MVX presents for RWA projects, or that other chains just cannot handle? Is it, we still have a lot of empty blockchains, we learned today, block space, but we're working on. Is that something that you guys are thinking of as well?
Yeah, of course. I think my vision is tomorrow everything will go on chain, because we have a lot of advantages of doing so. Today, when I buy a real estate, it's practically dead money, because yeah, I have the title. I'm the owner of the place, but I can't do anything else of using it or rent it. But tomorrow on chain, I will be able to put it at a collateral and make it a working money flow for the owner. So yeah, basically, I think tomorrow we have too much advantages of going on chain. I think it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of difficulties, because states is very low to evolve. A lot of parties are also like notary are involved, so it's a really slow pace evolving situation. But I think tomorrow everything will go on chain, and shelters is is in a position to be ready for the next wave, because we are the only platform, I think, in Europe or in France, but even in Europe, to be fully Web3 ready, because a lot of platforms claiming the same, but it's not the case in the reality, because a lot of things is still doing manually. In our process, everything is doing automatically. So yeah, basically tomorrow everything will go on chain, and Shelters is the best position for that.
So you are basically putting, let's say, a barcode on reality, and you let it trade 24/7. You don't have to go to a notary. You don't have to wait for an attorney. Or I don't know. You just trade it whenever you want. And I believe it should be simple enough for anyone anywhere in the world to be able to, for example, participate in winning from the value in I don't know, you are staying in Seoul, and you want to participate in some real estates in France. I mean, even my grandma should be able to check yields without opening
Absolutely.
Excel or whatever she is using anymore. Now, I'm curious. I checked your platform. Very nice. I've seen you already have a garage there. I'm curious, what are the next milestones? When a palace? When are we going to see a palace there?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. We heard it a lot. Basically, we are focusing on one thing at the moment. It's the walletless onboarding. We already did it as of today. So if you create an account today on the Shelters platform, you are able to create a MultiversX wallet in a minute, in one click. But our solution is not compliant ready at the moment. So we had to rethink everything. And now we are developing a solution that is fully compliant and ready for the big game, for being able to put on the platform bigger projects, bigger opportunities. And it was mandatory to continue to grow. So yeah, basically we are focusing on that. It's almost ready. We are trying it as we speak on our staging environment to be able to test everything, to see if it's working. Sorry. And so that's pretty much what we are doing now to be ready to have a bigger project.
I have a very specific question, just because I've seen, let's say, situation in the community with another project. What do you need from the community so that you can, let's say, come and say, hey, this is a success? And then what do you need from the foundation in order for you to say, hey, this is a success and I feel that you are helping me? And then which are the next steps, and if you are already having some things ongoing?
Yeah, so basically what we can ask for the community is feedback. Do not hesitate to engage, to talk with us, to share our messages, to try to put Shelters everywhere, because we need to reach a bigger audience, even outside of the Web3. That's our main target, to be honest. We want to think bigger. We want to bring people on chain, not just using people already there. So that's the first thing. Do not hesitate to interact with the dApp, with the application, to bring feedback to the team, to try to improve the user experience as much as possible. And from the foundation, I think Robert knows something about that, because we are asking something. But yeah, one of the next step for us is to bring almost everything on chain, even a balance of the user, for example. And so to do so, we are working on Euro. We are in France, in Europe. And so we would need a native Euro stablecoin on MultiversX, or even a rapid one, but really easily exchangeable to actually true Euro in the bank account. So that's what we want, and we are working with Robert to making it happen quickly. We like to be annoying with Robert, to ask a lot of questions. When it's coming, how it's improving. So yeah, no, we are talking with the foundation, and the foundation can also help us to meet bigger communities, to engage with institutions and so on. I think we can do so much together.
I'm loving it. I love the questions that they are not so much, so it's pretty smoothly going. And then if you push us in the right directions, then it's good. I think one of the, let's say, here in Europe, we need to, let's say, somehow break out of this thing about regulations. I'm not saying that we don't have to keep the regulations, but we can propose better ones and a little bit work on other set of rules until those come. Whether it's, the rules on the blockchain or the laws on the blockchain are much more, much better than any kind of law written in any kind of country, because the law on the blockchain is actually executed. So you could argue about that, and you could argue on this. So if people, let's say, want to degen into RWAs, why not? That would be great. And then you would have some kind of movement. And I would say this kind of degen is that a little bit of F regulations, and let's do it because we are a powerful community, and this should be our right. So it should be my right, if I want to invest in a fractionalized RWA, that I invest. It shouldn't be thought about like, let's say, some bureaucrats saying that you can do it, but only if you follow these kind of 500 pages of procedure. My 2 cents.
Yeah.
Now, Robert, I actually saw your face on an important document, and we talked about the proof of concept today. Just a little bit more on what's next for shelters, and then we'll let you go, Adrien. I know you guys are preparing a small pre-seed raise. Is that correct? And
Yes,
what are kind of the next steps in the roadmap?
Yeah, totally. We are looking for fundraising at the moment. I think it's needed to grow bigger and stronger. I think the main issue for us is to be bigger, to reach a broader audience. And to do so, we are working to an affiliation program. So that's every user that are incentivized to bring their friends on the platform. On top of the RWA advantages, we are pushing to bring more advantages for them. And of course, we want to increase the liquidity of the real estate market. So we are preparing ourselves for the marketplaces feature of shelters. It's a really huge thing because of regulation, because it has to be smooth for our user. And we wouldn't be able to do it with our current integration of our walletless feature. So we had to remove our feature, our current walletless feature, to migrate to the new one, for us to be fully prepared to develop the marketplaces. And we are almost ready on that front. So a lot of things is going on. We are also working with partners, real estate partners, to build link between our project and their project on real estate side. So a lot of things are moving on our side. So we are pretty excited for the future. And on top of that, if we are successful on raising pretty fast, I hope the fastest as possible, because it's one point that are throwing us at the moment. It could be very, very, very cool. Shelters could be very, very cool by the end of the year. So yeah, we are working on a lot of things, but definitely it's moving.
And we really have to say it. Europe has the best real estates in the world.
I agree. I think so too.
I hear of great garages as well. I mean, the garage, very
Exactly.
bullish on that. Adrien, thank you so much. Guys, check out shelters.finance, I believe,
Exactly.
to learn more. Best of luck. Keep up the great work, and thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Amazing. Before we move on to a next guest, I want to take a quick break to celebrate something quite remarkable. And it's that. Saw this the other day, Lucian shared it. I don't know, either of you speak to this number. So we're looking at the code commits for L1 blockchains, and this is, I believe, since 2010, yeah? And MVX is sitting in 4th place overall. Maybe talk a little bit about what that number kind of means and signifies, guys.
Yeah, I think I'll start, and then I'll... So just because I'm part of the DevRel team, I know exactly how it looks like when we are looking at a number of commits. And the questions that, and fairly, the community asks is, what's the proof or what's the value of having such a big number of commits? Because you can either argue that having lots of commits and lots of lines of code, it means that you have lots of lines of debt, indeed. But you have to think that what you are seeing there are the thousands of lines of code that are with plus, but you cannot see the thousands of lines of code which are with plus in the private repos. So this is only 55%, I think, of the repos that we have public, and this is what is accounted on. But we have another 45% which are private. And in general, commits are a proof of change. It's not really proof of value, it's a proof of change. It means that there's some velocity around it. It may not be productivity, just because you are changing or refactoring a function 10 times, it just shows velocity. And I think this is very important. Why are we changing things? We are changing things because we want to add more value. And the value can be seen and can be felt only by going and then getting feedback from the users. Does this update improve your life? Does this update improve your experience on the chain? Does it make it easier for you to build using the tools and everything that we are putting at hand to the developers? I think this is what it's important for our community to notice, that this is nothing but an immutable receipt, to say so.
Immutable receipt. I would say that in our case, we have really strict policies in general about commits and merges, of how it happens on every team and on the protocol level. So those numbers are really, let's say, what's the most important one, because those are the commits merged into main. It means that got into the hands of the developers or into the hands of users. It also means that, in 2018, 19, 2020, everybody, and even after that, everybody was calling us a small Eastern European team who cannot build anything, and it shows that a small Eastern European team can actually beat everybody else out there. If we look at around, okay, if we measure that we are on this since 2018 versus the others who are in the top, then we could say that we have a bigger velocity than those. And I'm pretty proud of how our velocity works. I don't think a lot of teams could achieve the number of upgrades and the number of governance and every kind we are pushing, especially here in 2025, or I think yesterday or today, the people have showed out the Vega, the speaker release, and then Andromeda, Barnard, and Supernova. And comparing that to how other protocol upgrades are done, I think that we managed an architecture which speeds up this kind of velocity, and that's quite a remarkable thing.
Now I'll bring in somebody who knows a thing or two about writing code and velocity and building a lot of products all the time. This is Mihai Eremia from XOXNO, or however you want to pronounce that. Building a ton of things, and we'll get into some of them. But first of all, hello, how are
Hi
you?
guys.
Hi, what's up?
Do you hear me first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are not wearing the good T-shirt.
Exactly.
I
Or is
gave
that
you-
a bobber on it?
We can.
A
I
very
don't know.
small.
Let's say yes. But I didn't expect Robert to be like this. Now I feel bad. I thought to change it, but yeah, I didn't have time. Yeah, Lucas, thanks for asking. Yes, we build a lot. I think if XOXNO code will be included in that top, we'll take rank 1. And I want to follow back on what Robert said in the velocity of the 5 to 6 years of MultiversX without downtime, because the others, they had some downtime along the period. So that's also important.
Now,
Thank you.
you've been around forever, right? Like one of the first staking providers when you were about 3 years old. You got into the game, and like have stuck around for a long time. You know, built I think the most successful marketplace. Now have expanded with the Launchpad into DeFi. Also building a ticketing platform, which we'll talk about at the end. But give us like a little bit of an insight, XOXNO, sort of like how you started, how you developed, and what you guys are building right now.
You want the honest one or the public facing one?
I mean, go for whichever version you're comfortable
We
We
go
are
for
live.
the we
we
go
are
for
live,
the
you know?
honest one.
But we can't edit this again.
So
The earthquake might happen while you're saying something controversial.
that's actually why I didn't come to you
Exactly.
today, actually. Yeah, so being a staking provider is boring by design because you end up doing nothing except getting rewards and looking at them. And this is the case for 99% of staking providers anywhere on blockchain, not just MVX. So we were there at a time where we got in contact with some people that wanted to do a launchpad for NFTs. I know we started designing the first standard for NFTs back then. I think we launched before or a bit after Mihai Exchange, or in the same time. I don't know, like we launched the first contract on I think November 2021. Not sure when Mihai was launched. Robert can tell that, but very
It was
early,
still on November.
right? Same like weeks apart or
Same
something
period.
like that.
Yeah, same period.
Like the contracts were just getting live on the mainnet. I know there was a period of testing on DevNet, testnet, and then live on mainnet. So yeah, we do have one of the oldest contracts, and we started doing that as a playful thing. Okay, what can we build? I know at some point I was playing with the version 0 of smart contracts, and I was doing a lottery thing. I think that's the first contract ever deployed on chain, even not by me, but I think by many people playing with that one. So that's how we started. We started playing around, ended up that contract was probably the biggest volume generator on chain with the NFT hype in that period. And I don't know, $30+ million worth of Eagle passing through, splitting through creators, royalties. Like it was huge. There was no security audits at that point, but let's say it was fine. So we do have some experience with handling large amount of money.
I think that the first time I saw or interacted with one of those was like the minting of the Stramosh, and that your site looked like a government site. So it was like
actually
I
that's how we
had to
started.
check hundreds of times whether this is the good site or not, because come on, who is building a government site on Web3? It was like no.
It was actually we built the website, let's say, faster than the contract, and we had the contracts first, and then we were like, okay, let's do something to be able to do a transaction, right? Actually, we changed the website from Trust Market to the current XOXNO, I think 5 times from scratch. Like we never rebuild, patch it. We just did a new repo and said, let's build it from scratch 3 times. It's a waste of time, but I think now we have a good version that everyone can use. But yeah, that website was creepy. Every time I look at the pictures, I'm like, man, I was so young, but No AI back then. No AI, so I have an excuse.
I think that was the first NFT I minted too, actually. So that was your contract. Very cool.
We were the first contract that was doing auto generation of the NFTs. We were not minting the first NFT because people were minting NFTs before us, but it was the send me an eagle and I send you the NFT. So that became a bit dangerous because eagle had a huge value at that point and people were just hyped about this. And I think people were like donating eagle to other people wallets in millions of dollars. So at that point you think about, okay, let's stop that because bad guys can come. Luckily didn't happen. I don't know any incident where this happened as a rug. Rug was not a term that was, popular back then. Even when we did the launchpad, we didn't even know what's a rug because being born on MVX, we didn't really touch AVM to lose money, to get drained, to all that stuff. So yeah, nothing really started as a rug, but then people got smarter and they got, I don't know, very ingenious in scamming other people. I remember the button was not even called buy, if you remember, Robert, when you minted. It was called
No, I don't remember. It was
on
just
MVX
everything
was
was
called donate. Like donate a eagle to receive a Stramoshi. There was no buy or I don't know, pay for this. It was like very weird, but we started interestingly. Yeah.
Yeah. So take us. What was the? I forget. Was it Isengard? No. Was that yours? What was the marketplace
That
called?
was not mine.
Oh,
I mean,
Trust, of course.
Trust
it was
me.
Trust Market, our
Mhm.
one, but the first one was Emoon, if you remember this name.
Yeah.
Not sure who was behind Emoon, was anonymous, but I know that they were not using a smart contract, and that became another vulnerability because not sure why they didn't use, but they were using like a personal wallet, like bot wallet that was receiving all the NFTs,
Hmm.
doing a lot of tracking, like who sent me this, who paid it, I need to send it back. So I don't know exactly how they were tracking all that because I think it's a mess overall, especially at that time. There was no APIs that advanced and so on. So that got hacked, and since then, yeah.
I think in some ways this is kind of a theme in your builder journey. It's like you look at something, it's like I can do this better and faster, right? Like you looked at the marketplace. Obviously now you've expanded from there. But like talk to us about the evolution from marketplace to XOXNO, like a really well functioning, greatly designed marketplace that even accepts fiat and has like a really nice Web2 feel, to expanding to now liquid staking, where you just celebrated a milestone. I'll bring that up in a second. And now even building a lending borrowing protocol.
Yeah, how to say, we always wanted to be more than an NFT marketplace. Everyone, even when we launched a token, were like, it's just an NFT marketplace. What do you do? I tend to remind people that we are first a staking provider and then we did the NFTs. So a lot of people say, oh, why do you do DeFi and liquid staking now? Come on, I was dreaming this for 4 years. It's not like we wake up today and, the guys with the pictures are like, they tried something new. It doesn't work like that, at least in our team. But yeah, how we evolve. So basically, we wanted to keep up with all the features from like OpenSea, and everything was live on Solana at that point. It was also huge. So everything was lacking in terms of features on MVX, not only on our marketplace, but across others as well. So we were just looking at, like, let's say global offers was one of the most used feature and the most hyped up. It was something that was possible only on AVM because you could put, let's say, orders without actually giving the money because the contracts can claim the money from you with the permission later for the more technical people. And because we don't have such thing on MVX, I had to hold the people money in the contract, but somehow invent to replicate the point where you could use that money in multiple parts. Like the tweet was like, you put 1 eagle and it's worth 100 eagle, and everyone went crazy. Like, what do you mean? It's scam. It's not possible. It's something like that, right? So that was one of the big boom of a feature. Of course, we had other things like custom offers, like specific per NFT, trade privately, P2P we had at some point. Then we came with staking of NFTs, but all these were just techie, and we interacted with a lot of businesses in that hype period. Like, a supermarket came to us to be like, we want an NFT marketplace. Everyone was coming to us. we were in a position where we need to filter people that are bad intended and not bad intended, and like, who do we help? Do we even attach our name to this? It's not a position where you want to be. Like, we always wanted to be like, we don't do partnerships with people. We don't say we support this project or that. We might help them behind the scenes with technical things, but we don't want to say XOXNO promotes this. It's not a good thing, and I think nobody should do that. And yeah, we said, how can people from Web2 buy NFTs? That's the moment when the supermarket came and say, we want to sell this. Sell to who? Because you don't have anyone in Web3, right? So you have to bring your people. And at that point, we tried to play with TwistPay, now XMoney, which now got acquired by MVX. So we did an integration with them. I think it's their first integration where you could process fiat. We had many deals with, like, let's say, who is on the market, MoonPay and others, to process the payments by themselves. But we actually went and did the entire integration ourselves, like basically pass the message through contracts, verify, issue the minting of fiat, like all that automation is done. And even if NFTs are kind of dead now, it's not a waste of time that we did that, because now we use it in ticketing and other many things. Like, you don't build and lose time, right? You just re-implement it in another form, shape, and it's very useful.
I think that you need a set of another retard ideas, like your one equaled values 100 and some kind of statement like
Yeah.
this, because that moves people, like that triggers people,
We trigger
and
people a
then
lot.
you you trigger with everything right now, whatever you do. But that's some kind of it makes sense that one equaled values 100 in case of global offers, but it makes the people to look into what you are building, and that's a very very cool way of making them check what you are building.
Yeah, and still,
So if you have some ideas like that, just push me in private.
I mean, I have many ideas, but it's some of them are, I just don't think will work. Some of them, it's just a game of attention. Like, even with Bobber and everything, it's a game of attention. Like, Bobber Battle, it's one of the biggest DApp. I didn't build it, but I see it on chain that is like crazy. It's just a simple thing, you know. Like, we build so many complex contracts that we wanted to go mainstream. No, people just want to click, flip, and that's all. It's actually the first contract with the lottery that I was talking in the beginning, like 4 years ago. Someone took it now and made a UI, and it's a super game. It's like,
I am not a lottery guy, so I will not play, because I played like 3 or 4 times and lost everything. So no, sorry.
Robert also thinks that poker is rigged against him. Last time we played, there was very
probabilities.
big drama. Yeah, exactly. He was like, it can't happen. The probability is too low. I want to talk about a milestone and your new protocol, because this is something that recently happened. Congrats on
This
on
is
this.
old. We are already 250.
There you go. Oh my God. Did you not post it? I went
It was
back.
too fast. It was like 2 days after this, and we didn't have time to change the designers.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So this is only how many weeks old, and you've already
I
two and a half.
don't know exactly. We launched it like slowly. We didn't do marketing for it. We launched it like, I think, 100 days ago. Just because when you don't hype it, and still people don't understand this, they should learn. Don't hype it. Launch it over the night. People will see it in the morning. There is no traffic. It's not crashing, and everything goes very nice. It's a thing that we practice at XOXNO. Please, anyone?
Yeah, at one point I was holding 10%
Of the
of
illegal.
XOXNO liquid staking.
Yeah. Now, same I was, but now many people hold that. Yeah, let's talk about it, because I was thinking about this protocol since, I don't know, it was hyped on Lido. Like, I think we had the first discussions with MVX 2022 summer, or when that was, Robert. It was like very, very in the beginning of everything on Ethereum with staking. We actually started to do some contracts back then. How to say, we drafted some things, then we learned more things, and then MVX made it public, open source. So yeah, that was the beginning. Then I kind of abandoned the idea to do it ourselves because we were pretty busy with NFT marketplace, was still, how to say, hyped volumes and all this stuff. So I didn't really had time to focus on my side project of liquid staking at that point. I started to advise others. I was happy with that. Then everyone knows what happened. And then I decided, okay, fuck it, I will do it. So I did it.
And now you're I think your lending boring is already on testnet or going on testnet.
It's on DevNet for some time for people
DevNet,
that
okay.
actually follow us closely and they see that we actually they see that we actually work. Like actually Claudiu said, if you actually watch on GitHub, you can see everything. And I wanted to comment on that with Claudiu that I see everything you do, Claudio, on the GitHub, but I don't know if I should tell to people because then they will say, "Oh, insider." It happened all the time. All the time when I tweet something, people think like, "You guys tell me." No, man, it's just on fucking GitHub. It's like the commit name and the line or the branch name. Or I actually scared Mihai a few weeks ago with something, and he was like, "From where do you know this?" And he didn't know that his dev actually leaked it on the GitHub. So,
Yeah,
Let's
true,
talk about
true story.
because that's an interesting thing, right? This open source coding and building. You guys are on DevNet. I think you put out some amount of money in bounties to hack your protocol or test it. Talk a little bit about sort of the ethos behind that, like, and the different approach that you're taking maybe over others with security audits and how that works.
I mean, in terms of security, I still believe MVX is one of the most easy blockchain to build on. Luckily made by Andrei Marnic on the framework and Robert on the VM and other teams on the node level. But to build contracts, you usually interact only with the VM and the smart contract framework. So it's actually, I had a discussion with someone from Ton Foundation, why nobody's building on Ton, and she was like, "Oh, can you check how you can build on Ton and tell me feedback why it's so hard?" And I was like, because I cannot focus on what I want to build when I try to build on Ton. Like, this is a very slightly important factor when you choose to build on a protocol. You should focus only on the business logic. So when I go to build something for XOXNO, I don't think how to build. I think how does this should work, right? So that allows a lot of clarity and security. And then I bet a bit on our team because, as you said, I'm here since the beginning and I am kind of the one sometimes pushing Robert with bugs. I feel like I am annoying him and Marinika as well. So it's very funny, but annoying sometimes because I have to wait for a fix and that delays me sometimes, but I understand why I need to be delayed because I know the consequences of being hacked after that. So that's why actually we also delay landing now a bit for something, but we found another fix. So before I even publish these things with security and bounties, I trust what I code and what I audit myself. Then I also work with the Arda team, not to do audit, but I pay for consultancy because I like more to brainstorm with people what I code rather than just, give them the code, they read it and tell me this, right? It's way better if two minds are reading the same code and, he's pointing something out, I point something out and we debate, right? I like this approach. And after these things are done internally, we launch it publicly and say, hey, if you break it, instead of paying an auditor to give us a PDF, I give you money, right? It did work very well with liquid staking. Nothing was found. We launch it. We try to break it multiple times, but the code is so simple that there is nothing to break. Like if you just, you do it once.
You actually built in a contract like was audited 3 or 4 times before. Just joking around.
Because we
But
started
that's
from
how
the base one that we said in 2022.
but that's how open source and composability works. For example, I think that liquid staking is one of those things which was pretty good that we just open sourced and did not deliver on it as a product. And the same with NFT marketplaces, because then other builders could take it up, have full-time focus on it, and improve in ways which we did not see because we had other 10 things to do. So I think we will continue to experiment, or I think there are other contracts as well already published on our open source repositories.
The landing
We
was one of the most, let's say, untouched. It's a bit old what you have there, but it's a good starting point. Like,
yeah, so we just launch like whatever we experiment on, we just open source it, and then people can just take it up and make a business out of it. That's and when people do that, we pretty much like it.
just don't take it and deploy like that. Please check the code because it's not just perfect all the time. It's
Mihai, 2 questions before we'll let you go also, and code some more. One, when launch, of course, lending, when live, and then also let's talk about an event in a couple of days because that ties in to the next section. When are you guys planning on launching the lending?
so we're actually auditing it with the MVX team also in open. Like if people would check GitHub, there is like the commits and so on from team people from MVX. So we done that. Nothing was found. There are some let's say nice things to improve in the code. Let's say source code. We are actually preparing to deploy a DevNet campaign with funding, basically pay people to test it. We created a Zilly campaign based on like the level of the user. You can start from like beginner where you just supply some money. You can go to medium where you repay from your collateral, a lot of new features coming on this protocol, something new for the entire ecosystem. And then you can arrive at the expert mode where you are like long and short through the lending, through looping, one click, you sign once and you do 20x leverage exposure. We have a full integration with xExchange for like LP tokens. You can literally hedge against them. You can borrow LP tokens to, let's say, for the most advanced people, you can do what Fluid is doing right now on Ethereum, where you have smart depth and smart collateral. That means you can borrow LP tokens or supply LP tokens or borrow and split them and do something else with the money. So that's something very flexible for the chain. I would say next month I would like to have it. We wanted to have it in Q1, but as I say, there were some bugs at the LP pricing. We found a solution. We delayed. We wanted to wait for Bernard to get some new features from there, but we don't really need it. So
You need it, but you
I
figured it
need it
out.
figured
The
out
workaround.
it's like, it's like a dance. Do you wanna risk it or not? Considering that there will be not much LTV at the beginning, we can say we can ship it like this and just observe it without being anything that people can drain funds or anything like that. And then we upgrade it with Bernard. So I would say next month. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, last thing you're building, and this is something I will have the pleasure of using in 3 days, 2 days, in Istanbul for a nice event, Zontix. Just give us the very short TLDR. What are you building there? Why are you building it? And how far are you on it?
So we took everything XOXNO related and we just branded it as Zontix. If you want the short story. But no, it's for real. Like there is a lot of infrastructure from the entire NFT thing that we built for the past 4 years. Like all the tickets are again NFTs. Behind it's using a modified launchpad version of that contract launched in 2021, connected with Fiat as well. We had to build from scratch that Web2 solution that you use and everyone that comes to Zontix use to log in. It's kind of like the other solution from MultiversX, but a bit specified for us. I just forgot the name, XLS, yes. So it's similar with that. We are still working on improving our own version because we find some limitations on people devices. I would like to go for the passkey, but not that stable yet on many devices.
2 weeks.
It's not about that solution. I know your solution is about Apple doesn't allow to save the way your implementation had. I don't know why. Don't ask. It was crashing on my device. Yeah, why we build it? Because NFTs again are a bit dead. I am more towards real world assets in terms of everything, like even the finance and the protocol of lending and borrowing will go in that direction at some point. And when it's bear market, you have nothing to do. So you need ticketing because events in the world are happening all the time, and there is also a big opportunity to improve them. If you saw in US, they are signing new legislation for anti-competitive law with Ticketmaster because they take everything, super huge fees, not transparent, bots, nobody knows who is buying because it's not on chain to see who holds all the supply of the tickets. All these things at some point will matter, and I think once the entertainment industry kind of gets more, not smart, but more open to new things, they will explore the fact where you can raise money through this ticketing on chain from people to bootstrap your event, like a pre-sale, because right now to do a huge event in Bucharest, you need to put yourself the money, not let the community raise that money for you. Like if you want to bring Beyonce in Romania, you cannot just pay Beyonce 2 million and risk that nobody will buy your ticket to come to see Beyonce. You cannot say, hey, if we raise this amount of money from all the people interested, we can sign Beyonce to come and sing here in summer, right? So you can use that with this solution very easily. You can also resell your tickets easier right now, which is not possible anywhere in a decentralized way. It's possible on Ticketmaster, of course, but they control everything and they don't give any royalties back. It's like, hey, you buy it from us, we get the money and the fees, and that's all. The event is just a third party, let's say, loser because, yeah. So I see potential. Our app is building well. I actually told Lukas that he might have the first version for scanning and seeing attendees. I give some videos on X sometimes, but we don't want to release it yet because we are still working on let's say Apple login. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, and I think it's so cool to like this approach to building where really you can get very direct, very good, very real user feedback as it happens, fix it on the spot. We have a bunch of Telegram groups, obviously, where we're constantly giving feedback. And yeah, congrats on that. Really looking forward to using it this weekend. Congrats on everything else you're building. Best of luck for the launch of the lending protocol. Hope to have you back once that's all out there. And then, yeah, we'll keep chatting, keep up the good work, and we'll talk very soon.
Cool, guys. See you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, we committed internally to not making the show very long. I don't even know how to keep it shorter. Still, like let's quickly go over some highlights that we wanted to mention. This is the events that we were talking about. MVX was actually at the schools. Your colleague Dragos was teaching at a university. We have a meetup going on in London right now. Bottom left, you see a snippet of that. We had the Paris Blockchain Week with Benjamin, hosted a side event. We're about to host another side event for a different event here in Istanbul in a couple of days. And I want to mention this because this is sort of cool. NFTs are kind of quietly maybe making a comeback a little bit on MVX. We have Bugas leading the charge here with a very cool SoFi campaign that's happening right now. You can participate. I think there's something like $3,000 in prizes per week. Very cool. And, real storytelling driven NFT brand, lifestyle brand, transcending Web3. We just saw Clanosaurus, a different NFT project, actually win a Webby Award, an Internet Award. So this is very much possible. Also wanted to give a shout out to another great NFT project that just sold out another collection on MVX, which is also very interesting in terms of bridging Web 2, Web 3, in this case, even a metaverse still, but a very, I think, smartly constructed one in the Polynesian islands, Dynavox, really doing some outstanding work and, getting out there, finding new use cases and all of that. With the campaign that I just mentioned, I also want to mention a couple of things in terms of using the chain, creating content like we saw it for the Bugas SoFi campaign. We do have the ongoing quest, of course, right now for this show, create content, get rewarded. We always almost through X Alliance have a bunch of quests open that have a big range, and you can make real EGLD As we were saying, if the markets continue doing that, like if you win this quest now, your grandchildren might still thank you. Pulsar, money is a great thing that we've been experimenting with, both from XAlliance and MultiversX. Nice, fun, easy, simple on-chain tasks tracked in a really, really compelling way, I think, and a great innovation also, I think, in the way that they're approaching this. And I just wanted to shout that out. I also think Ludi campaign is wrapping with a huge prize fund, so check that out as well. But there are a lot of opportunities in the ecosystem, and I won't have anybody tell me otherwise because you're just not paying attention. So that's kind of, I think, a wrap on like just a super brief overview of what's going on in the community. And I think before we wrap the show, we have a video to share, which now I need to figure out how to do that because I was just sent this. Let me see if I can share my screen for this correct video. Maybe
Yeah,
tell
make
us.
sure it's the correct video you're sharing.
You want to tell us anything about this before I press
Yeah,
play?
it's I'll be very short just because I'll try to fit in the, let's say, maximum 5 minutes that we have left. I've started 2 weeks ago to write like a manifesto. I stopped for a week or two just to breathe some air. I'll continue.
It's the
I have
classic countdown stop on every.
countdown. Just because yeah, you're right. Yeah, so it's about fundamentum. That's how I called it, just because it's not a passion or something like this. But usually when I'm trying to find a name for something, I'm thinking about how would the Latins would frame it, or Greeks, or and I'm searching through terms. The
You are
fundament,
too European.
yeah, to Latin. The thing is that fundamentum is just a placeholder for what we are actually building, and that's linked to the video that Lukas will share in a couple of minutes. And it's very tightly coupled to what AI actually would mean, not only for blockchain industry but for the entire world. I mean, it's about companies, and I have friends who are working at companies, huge companies, I will not name them, who are ignoring AI. I think it's too late for a company to ignore AI. I think it's just a roadkill. Probably they will become, in I cannot say some number, 6 months, 1 year, I don't know exactly. They will become irrelevant. Why? Just because at this moment the generative models can automate probably more than 30% of work hours, and it means, okay, it may not be the greatest value for it or the greatest quality. If you are a good developer, you can still make use of that speed and automation that the generative models offer you. So with the same 10 people team, you can deliver much more. So companies who are pretending that this is not true, they are volunteering for extinction.
I would say that they are already dead.
Yeah, true. And then there are the companies who are integrating AI. We are also integrating AI, as Robert was mentioning at the beginning of the podcast. He tried to bring vibe coding, he said, but actually using AI in some of the processes. I'm doing that as well, and many of our colleagues are doing, and not only in the generating code and reviewing code and checking for problems with your code, but actually also for, let's say, having like a personal friend, a smart one, with whom you can change one or two ideas, and then only afterwards going to Robert and say, hey, what do you think about this? I'm not trying to lose some of your time, your precious time, but I refined this idea and I came to you. So there are lots of companies who are integrating AI, and that's very cool that they are going to keep the pace, to say so. I think there are lots of companies investing in AI, but very few of them are mature with AI. They don't know exactly how and where this will go. And then there are the companies who are building the rails, the companies who are building the vehicles. And due to that, so we have a background. We worked together at a very big automotive company before. The vehicles in general, so an automobile has an engine that can be found on several other companies who are selling cars. So you can find one on the same engine on Daimler, you can find the same engine on Renault, and so on. The thing which sells the car is actually the story, the way how you feel when you drive the car. And here I'm thinking about the engine as the AI, like models or whatever LLMs generated or created by OpenAI, by Anthropic, by Google, Twitter, or X, and so on. And they are building the engines. But I believe that the companies who are going to build the vehicles are the ones who, in the end, will be the winners of the entire AI, let's say, revolution. And the manifesto that I tried to write is how blockchain is actually, without us knowing, was actually built for AI, or how AI is built for blockchain, and how they merge into something very beautiful, which is a computation or a computation engine, a computation machine, a computation vehicle, and how can we present it to everyone. And here, everyone, I'm meaning Web 2 people, or people who are not even Web 2, to understand the way how they can make use of both blockchain and AI in the same time. And it's only with good vibes that so only through good vibes we can achieve that. And very soon, I know that I said very soon, and it was like 2 weeks. I said very soon 1 month ago. I think it was 3 weeks ago, actually. But now we are closer, very close, like less than 1 week away, I hope. Yeah, and we are trying to feed those pieces here and there. And I think the video is something like let's not call it a countdown, but building momentum of the entire thing. And we are going to post more and more into this idea until we are going to create the story behind what it will actually be in the end.
And with that, I will roll the tape. Tell me if you can see the screen, and then I will roll it. I hope this is good.
I see you in some shorts. Is it? No,
That's me.
it's the right video, but it's not. No.
Shining bright like a golden chain. Shining bright like a golden chain. Poolside dreams in the night we sway. Poolside dreams in the night we sway. Retro rhythm gonna lead the way.
Okay.
It stopped.
that is the preview. That is what the teaser will leave you with. Let me stop the screen share and kick it back to you. Any last thoughts? I mean, give us. I think we'll just leave it here, obviously, on the fundamentum, the vibey parts. I'll remind everybody out there that there is a quest about this podcast in particular, where you can earn money. There's also a bunch of other quests out there that I just referenced. There is also a call always to give us feedback. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to hear about? What what else could we do as an element of the show? We have a lot of ideas of things to integrate, but always love to hear from you. And yeah, with that, I'll pass it back to the MultiversX headquarters in Sibiu, maybe for some closing thoughts, and then I'll let you get back to the rest of the marathon meetings.
Yeah, I think we will continue some meetings a little bit. But today was super productive. I think we made a big whiteboard full of sticky notes, and we've planned like around 3 years of work into 3 months period or 4 months period. So, but we will probably deliver on that. We are I think, quite confident that we can make it. So that's the power of a small Eastern European team.
Yeah, full focused. Actually, we tried the fist of five voting of confidence, and we are at 4 out of 5, so which is very good. We have some very ambitious plans, and we are quite motivated on delivering on that. I think that up until our next momentum podcast, lots of things will change and will happen. As Lukas was mentioning, Andromeda should be on mainnet. Let's fight for that. And probably the governance vote for Bernard should be already ongoing. So again, let's fight for that. And also our secret project should be launched. Let's fight for that.
One of the secret projects.
One
out
of them, yeah, of the
out
many,
of a few.
which are all private. So the percentage, yeah. Yeah, keep building. And just the feedback that we receive is very valuable. Even though you may not notice immediate results, we are working on improving the experience from the user experience, the developer experience, the builder experience. We are learning from what others are doing right. We are learning from what others are doing wrong. We don't know the perfect recipe for whatever may drive success, but as the graphics are showing, we have velocity, and when we feel and we see that something is wrong, we very fast fix it. When we see that something can be improved, we very fast improve it, and we make it open source for real builders to make use of it and compose great apps. The killer app is not out there yet, and it may be our chance to have the killer app launched first on MultiversX.
Guys, thank you very much. Thank you. Have a great evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And we will be back in just about a month, the last Thursday of every month. So May something, I'm sure. And yeah, looking forward to talking about all the updates. Till then, there really is so much happening that will be shared very soon, 1 to 2 weeks. Of patience is all we ask every day, and there is a lot of stuff going on, pushing very hard, as you can see, not just from the commits, but from these conversations here, from hopefully a little bit of a view behind the scenes. And yeah, grateful for you guys to provide this to all of us, and yeah, keep building, and see all of you guys very soon.
Let's get back to work.
See
Back to
you.